Jazz, you've umpired with Melbourne Netball now for how long?
I'm into my 5th year this year.
Mm-hmm. Were you badged when you got here?
No, not Australian accredited. I was accredited in New Zealand, a senior level 1, I think it was, or level 2 umpire.
Right.
And level 1 in coaching as well.
So you, in particular, have now been a coordinator for, what, a couple of years, or?
I think that's up until 3 years. Yeah.
Did you, when you first came to Melbourne Netball, notice the role of the coordinator while you were on a staff as an umpire?
Yeah, well, I started playing with Melbourne Netball through the Jaffers team over in Ryan's Reserve Thursday night.
Right.
The coordinator down there at that time was Don at Glass, and I noticed his presence. Everyone notices his presence. He's quite a role model for me down there. Everything went smooth, there was no issues, and yeah, really enjoyed the competition.
So what specifically was a role model to you? Was this from a player's point of view or from an umpiring point of view?
From a player's point of view.
Right.
I wasn't umpiring on staff until I played a few rounds with Melbourne Netball.
Right.
I think that's a nice way to get into it as well, because you know what the staff are like, and you know, potentially your colleagues as well. And
so when you then became an umpire, did you work directly under Don?
Yes, I did. As a coordinator, yes. As an umpire, I did some training with Dimity.
Right.
That probably lasted 3 or 4 months, maybe. And she just assessed me and said, you know, you need to get your badge. So I got my badge down at Ryan's Reserve with Netball Victoria.
And when you umpired, was Dom ever your coordinator?
Yes.
So
yes.
Did he have a different impression then from going from client to player?
Yes.
Client to, umpire?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so what was that difference?
He was very approachable. He was understanding. I felt like I could ask him anything. No question was a stupid question, especially with the rules, because quite often you'll get into a game and you'll go, oh, is that... I'm not quite sure, and you go and ask Dom, and he knew everything.
Yeah.
Well, if he didn't, he'd find out and get back to you, which was really helpful as an umpire.
So how do you view coordinating now that you've been a coordinator? Were you nervous when you were offered the job to go into coordinating? Because we don't just choose anyone to coordinate.
The first question was, what's involved?
Yeah.
What are my responsibilities? And can I take it on as a person? I think I thought I was pretty capable of doing it, which, you know, I think I am. And I thoroughly enjoy it.
What is it that you enjoy about it specifically?
I enjoy being down at the courts and seeing staff improve, and new staff come in, new clients come in, and getting that clientele rapport as well. They come in every week, and we've got our name badges now, and they call me by name, and if there's any issues, it comes back to the office and it's got my name on it, so I can communicate more to the admin team, and it's I thoroughly enjoy coordinating.
What do you think are the most important parts about the coordinating job as opposed to umpiring?
That's a hard one. Being onto it and being proud of being onto it and knowing what I'm doing and having the backup from Claire and obviously the admin team. If you ever have any questions, you can always contact them, and you know they'll sort it out for you or help you sort it out for you. The support is a big thing. There's no point saying something at the court if you're not sure about it, and that's why we have our company bylaws, and all our coordinators have to be fully aware of the bylaws and the rule book, and having that backup's really good.
So in the event now that you've been, you know, very independent and a high standard of coordinating, whether or not you realise that you're actually stamping the branding of the company in those roles every time you do it, do you have any memories of difficult moments that you had to cater to? Because this is always the big fear of someone sort of going, you know, oh God, what am I expected to do here? I mean, obviously there's a rational logic part of the job where from management we expect you to step up, and we trust that you're going to make rational decisions, keeping that branding in mind and knowing that you're going to be supported regardless. The question really becomes can I justify the decision making under the circumstances I've been placed in? And 9 times out of 10, you know, that is always a yes. It's very rare from memory for me that I can remember thinking, oh God, what a mess. You know, thinking that the coordinator was careless. So can you take us through some moments of okay, I've never seen this before, how do I handle it, what I did, what was the result, and then perhaps what was the follow-through from us here in the office?
Well, there's a few instances, and hitting me right off the top of my head is a pretty mean thing to do.
But they're so honest and natural.
I did have an instance a few weeks back. I won't name any teams or nights, but I asked them for their team payment, and they pretty much bullied me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I handled it pretty well, and in the end result, the team apologised to me, which I thought was a really good thing.
How did that happen? Like, what was the process? What were the steps?
I actually called Jamie, who was the coordinator the week before, to make sure that, you know, the same thing hadn't happened last week, just to check, and he was available on his phone, which is great. Got a straight up answer then and there. And then I just did company procedure, which is if you don't have your online receipt, you have to pay your $65. If you're not going to pay your $65, there's a forfeit fine, and that's how it is.
Is that where it moved?
Yes. They decided to not pay and leave. It was horrible on my behalf to see a team waiting to have a game and then a team leaving because they didn't want to pay. I said to the girls, you know, I don't want you to leave. I want you to play your game, but this is the procedure and you need to get organised. And I felt really bad afterwards that the other team had missed out on a game. But at the end of the day, you've got to stick with what the rules are and what the procedures are. And it's, you know, the umpires that were there to back me up. If anything had have happened, I had verbal, you know, what is it called?
Email confirmation?
Yeah. From the other umpires. They can always fill out instant report forms and all that sort of stuff. So
but you also had something in an email that you could clearly show to the team, look what your captain was given. Yeah. And here's the instructions, so this is not new information to you.
Yeah. So I used as ammunition, obviously, as of the 1st of the 8th, all teams' captains were emailed this procedure, and you should all be well aware of it. And then I think in the 4th round, is it, that all teams... All the players of every team, they all get emailed this particular email that states, you know, all the procedures throughout the company. I really like the fact that there's a system in place, and if you break the system, well, it's not my fault, it's the client's fault.
That's right.
They've done the wrong thing.
And in the case that it was an error, and in this case there was kind of a bit of a flaw from our end as well as their end. What had happened, of course, when I started to investigate it was that the team had paid a full season in advance, so it's very understandable for them to get their backup. However, their first game in for that season where you were asking for that payment was when they... you asked the second week. And the first week when they came in, they had a game in credit from the previous season. Now, that was a bit of a flaw from us in the office in a new payment system. But also, when I investigated, the captain was saying to me, well, you know, no one asked me for the hard copy. So in the event that I was able to email the entire team saying, okay, we've actually got a flaw in both areas here, and they're a very minor flaw, because after implementing a new system for quite some months, this was, I think, the second incident where we had, okay, something's not working here, what is it? Obviously, I was able to say, you know, the reason why you weren't asked in that first week was, well, you were actually in credit. Perhaps we should have shot you an email to keep you informed, because we had been doing that with other teams. I'm not quite sure even now why that didn't happen. But what we do know is that that's something we need to make sure we keep a closer eye on.
That's a learning curve, and it was a new payment system at the time. It was the first time.
And also, too, it was me saying in an email to the team captain, look, in the event that you don't get asked for a hard copy, be assertive and hand it in anyway. You know, so, you know, you can see that there's always some system to fall back on. And, you know, of course, I did feel when you reported it to me that the way you were treated was highly inappropriate and it was in breach of the bylaws.
I had all 7 players in my face.
Yeah, that's right.
But in saying that, you know, the next week I received an email from Jamie, who was the coordinator, and I was umpiring, which she had printed off your response to what had happened, and I read that, and it's clearly stated that all 17 members had to come up and apologise to me directly and say that it was more of a... They actually did apologise, and they said they didn't realise that it was more of a bullying act because there's 7 on 1, and they were really sorry, and you're only doing the job and that sort of stuff. So that was really rewarding in the end, that it actually got through to them.
Because, you know, moments can affect you like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world.
No.
And you know, from a coordinating point of view, obviously, that you'll always be backed by management.
Yeah.
So while you might feel uncomfortable in some moments, what would you say to somebody that's about to learn this job? What's your best piece of advice in situations like that?
Just use your brain, use your common sense.
And remain calm and polite, perhaps?
Yeah, calm and polite, and, always listen to the end as to what the client's trying to tell you. Don't try and butt in and say, look, this is what it is. Just listen to them, let them get everything out, and then reiterate it in your brain and go, well, actually, this is how it is. And just be calm and polite, and if they have any questions, they need to direct it to the admin team more so than yourself. You're just here to take the money and run the event smoothly. What
would you now say when you go in to coordinate every shift? What do you look forward to the most from that coordinating job role?
I love responsibility. I thrive on responsibility, so I always have, and I always probably will. I really enjoy just being down to courts and seeing people progress as players as well. Quite often as a coordinator, I'll actually, if there's an opportune team or a less skilled team, go up and give them a few pointers at half time. The umpires are expected to do that, but they don't have to. That's another service that we do provide, and quite often I know which team's playing when because it's my night and I know what's going on. So I'll pop out just maybe in the second quarter and have a watch of them for a quarter and then coach them. I enjoy coaching people. So.
Great. Thanks a lot for your wisdom. I hope you will be a good influence on a few others that are going to walk the walk that you've done.